One of the episodes in the old Howard Gang series tells the tale of the young, cowlick-beheaded Alfalfa attempting to shed his reputation as a common crooner and become a great opera star. He visits an opera company where the impresario is so inspired, he immediately signs Alfalfa to a contract effective 20 years hence. At the appointed time, 2 decades later, the intrepid divo makes his operatic debut and the audience, predictably, boos him off the stage. It's all downhill from there for our hero, whose adult life just doesn't turn out the way he expected. The episode ends happily as Alfalfa wakes from his dream, sees the error of his ways, and returns to his calling as a popular, albeit off-key, crooner. In many ways, the episode is a foreshadowing of the real life of the actor Carl Alfalfa Schweitzer, whose meteoric rise to fame as a child preceded a tragic adulthood. Hal Roach created the R-Gang comedies in 1921 after watching a group of kids do what kids do best. They were playing in his yard. Originally made as silent films, the series grew in popularity as Roach added sound in the 1930s. MGM re-released the episodes in the mid-1950s as The Little Rascals. In 1935, Carl's parents took him and his older brother Harold to visit the Hal Roach Studios in Los Angeles. The purpose of the trip was nothing less than to turn Carl and Harold into child stars. And it worked. Carl and Harold parked themselves in front of the crowd at the studio's cafe and began performing. Roach saw them and signed them on the spot. Carl, Alfalfa as he was known in the series, quickly overshadowed Harold and became one of the top stars along with regulars Darla Hood and George Spanky McFarland. He was enormously popular with viewers, but just as unpopular with the child actors and filming crew. Alfalfa was a prankster and the biggest bully of the gang. During filming, he would intentionally step on other kids' feet or stick them with a nail he carried in his pocket. On one occasion, a cameraman became frustrated with Carl as he muffed his lines and told him, "Get it right so we can go to lunch." After the cameraman left, Alfalfa gave each of the kids a stick of gum and collected it back from them after they were done chewing it. Then, he took the enormous wad and stuck it into the gears of the camera. That afternoon, the kids went home while the cameraman tried to save his machine. One day, director George Sidney became so frustrated with Alfalfa's antics, he pulled him aside and told him, "Come and see me when you grow up so I can beat the crap out of you." In 1940, Roach booted 13-year-old Alfalfa from the series for being too old. He had been earning about $750 a week, a fortune in the Depression era, and supporting his family. Suddenly, it all ended, and like most child stars, he did not make a successful transition into acting as an adult. While continuing to struggle in his acting career, he became an outdoorsman and hunting guide. In 1958, he borrowed a hunting dog from a man named Bud Stilts. He lost the dog when it ran after a bear on a hunting trip, and he offered a reward for the dog's return. When a man brought the dog back to him, Alfalfa was so grateful he paid the reward and bought the man several drinks. Later, he decided Stilts should be responsible for the money he spent on the dog's return. On January 21, 1959, Carl went to see him and demanded $50. Stilts refused to pay. They argued and fought. Finally, Alfalfa drew a knife and went after him. Stilts ran, got a gun, and killed the 31-year-old former child star. A jury subsequently acquitted Stilts of any wrongdoing. Along the way, there was a bright spot in Carl's short and tragic life. In his work as a hunting guide, he crossed paths with cowboy superstar Roy Rogers, a 33rd degree Mason and member of Hollywood Lodge 355. Roy tried to help Carl's faltering career by giving him parts in several of his shows. He also encouraged Carl to join the Freemasons, which he did. Brother Carl was buried in Hollywood's Forever Cemetery, a resting place for many of Hollywood's greatest. His tombstone bears symbols of the better parts of his otherwise tough life. It reads Carl Alfalfa Schweitzer and is adorned by a carving of a hunting dog, not Pete from the Our Gang series as some think, and 2 square and compasses flank the top. Interestingly, the cemetery sits on the grounds of what once was Southland Lodge 617, and the original lodge building is still standing. Alfalfa and other child actors from the series proved being a child star wasn't as glamorous as it might have seemed. About half of them, Carl included, did not live to see 40. Even Carl's brother Harold committed suicide at age 42. Today, the little rascals are all gone, every one of them. Many, Carl chief among them, never had that second chance Alfalfa got when he woke from his operatic nightmare. For the Whence Came You podcast, this is Steve Harrison with the Masonic Minute.